Hello, I'm Aiden.
And I'm Josh. Welcome to Undead Ramblings, where we talk all things Call of Duty Zombies, amongst other games, movies, and other media.
This is episode 13 of our podcast, which we are recording on the 23rd of July. Sorry, not July, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there, aren't I?
I was going to say.
The 23rd of June 2025. Last episode we discussed our thoughts on the Black Ops 1 Zombies Map 5. If you haven't already seen it, feel free to go back and give it a listen, along with any other previous episodes. Also, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, the usual YouTube stuff. Josh is nearly at 8,700 subs, so let's continue that support to reach the goal of 9,000 subs by the end of the year.
Crazy to think about, isn't it?
yeah, I know. I mean, you are growing. I'm noticing it, grows, so...
Well, that's always a good sign. I'll admit, I don't really check it all too often.
Well, I mean, at least one
but I
of
do
us is
appreciate
checking
it. I do appreciate it. Don't misconstrue that.
Yeah. Just a reminder that Josh and I are still looking for help with Black Ops 1 4-player Easter eggs, which is Ascension's one and Shangri-La's. So if you have an Xbox and you fancy helping out with that, then drop Josh a message on Discord or comment on this video.
Actually, speaking about that, I've nearly got that poster done.
Oh, okay,
fun
cool.
Recruitment poster idea, so
yeah,
I'll try and get that out on Thursday with any luck. Cool.
Well, keep an eye out on the community tab on. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
the community tab.
Okay, it's me saying I believe so. Like, I should know. I'm always using the damn thing recently.
Well, I'll hand over to you for any channel updates and gaming news.
Alright. We haven't got a whole lot of channel update stuff this time. It's kind of, like I always say, it's kind of becoming a bit of a par at the minute to just have no updates, really. Same as last time again. Soundtrack stuff is coming eventually.
TM.
I know, yeah. Like I say, because I've lost all my stuff with that previous hard drive, so it's kind of...
Yeah, you're still kind of recovering everything, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I also need to work up the nerve to play Terminus again, which I'm just really not feeling at the minute, I'll be totally honest with you.
That's totally valid. That's totally valid.
Yeah, this season's been a bit hit and miss, but we'll get to that in the next section if we end up mentioning it. Beyond that, though, we're also going to be expanding a bit on what we talked about last time. So we're going to be trying a bit more of a regular streaming thing for anyone who might have seen it recently on the community tab. We've been doing a couple of streams for Elden Ring, Nightreign, and I believe 5 was another one we did.
Yeah.
To get some footage, and it's just something that we're thinking about incorporating into like a weekly thing. And I believe you said on Tuesdays you're going to be doing it yourself as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'll be streaming it on my gameplay, I guess. I don't know if you're going to be doing it on your end, the actual streaming part of it, or if you're
I've
going to be uploading.
considered it. I just don't trust my internet enough, I'll be honest.
That's totally valid. So I mean, so if you want to kind of watch us streaming, it will basically be watching me stream it, but Josh will be playing with me, so you'll hear his communication if you do watch us. I think my Twitch handle will be in the description, so check that out. I'm going to try and get a regular schedule of streaming around 7:30, 7:45 PM UK time each week, but that should depend on life though as well. So, but that's the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to note as well, this isn't always going to be stuff that on Tuesday we're doing together, as I believe you said. So
yeah.
It could also be Ed doing solo stuff. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can check it out in the link below and let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that, though, for gaming news, there's currently a limited time event going on in Elden Ring Nightreign. Ironically, what we're talking about today. It's a special version of... Is it... I always get them mixed up between the Gaping Dragon and the And this one,
it's the gaping dragon, Adele, Baron of the Night.
right? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So if you play the game, that's something for you to do this week if you're interested. But you have to have beaten the original version. A feat I haven't quite accomplished yet, so I don't think I'll be managing this limited time event. But it's probably going to be finished, I think, by the time this video goes live. But I believe that they're doing more in the near future, so it's always something to keep an eye out on if it's something you're interested in. I don't even know if they're gonna go around again. You know what I mean? Once they've done them all, they're gonna lap around and give you another shot at doing them in the future. I'd hope so.
They might do.
I'd certainly hope so. There's certainly a bit of FOMO to get you going.
To be honest, I don't think you even get any kind of like major rewards. It's just like if you want to like face that like face a more like tougher version of the boss, you basically just get more of the in-game currencies.
Oh right, is that all you get for it? Like, have you done it?
No, I haven't. I've just had a quick look online to see what the rewards are. You just get some more of the in-game currency and like some more relic stones. That's like really it. Like more rarer
Yeah, for sure.
relic stones, stuff you can already earn in game. So
Oh.
this is very much more of a you beat this hard boss, yeah. Now try it again, even harder.
Right. Okay. I don't feel too bad about it now. I was sitting there going like, I'm not that bothered about it with clenched fists.
Yeah. It's like you're not going to get like a new skin or a weapon for it. Like it's very much a kind of like try this again, even more difficult.
Well, if that's all it is, I'm not too worried about it. But again, for anyone who's interested in suffering through that, that is an option.
You basically, from what I understand, is that when you eventually get to the limited time boss, it basically starts out of the gate on phase 2, and when you get down to half health, it effectively gets a third phase, if you will, which has a kind of like whole brand new moveset.
Right, I see. Okay. Have you had the chance to fight it at all, or just?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna try at some point, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, you'll have to let me know how it goes. I gave it a go on solo last night, and was
that just a regular one?
Yeah, and I struggled really badly with it on solo. So I don't know if I'll keep playing it on solo. I might have to do co-op for this one, I think.
That's fair. I mean, we'll get on to the two Night Lords that we faced in a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So have you got anything else to add to that, or are you ready to move on?
No, nothing else. Just the last bit of news.
Alright, so another bit of news is that Death Stranding 2 is going to be out by the time this video goes live, for anyone who's interested in that. I've never played it myself, but we mentioned Doom a couple of weeks back, so I figured it was only prudent to mention if other stuff comes out in the future. So
yeah,
if that's a game you're interested in, then hopefully that goes well for you. I've heard it's supposed to be quite good.
Yeah, I mean, my wife has played it and she seemed to enjoy it. I just can't get by the fact that it just feels like a walking simulator.
Yeah, it's like parcel delivery, isn't it?
Pretty much.
I've heard this one's got more combat, but I think that core gameplay element is still there of walking around delivering parcels.
Yeah, like I don't really like the idea of just being an Amazon delivery man.
Yeah, for sure. It's like those simulator games, isn't it? That you always used to get on Steam.
Exactly. There's so many simulator games. It's like Power Simulator, Police Simulator, Flight Simulator.
Exactly, yeah.
Like Goat Simulator. Like,
how many of them are on Game Pass alone? I was actually going through it last night, and there's dozens of them.
Yeah, I think there's a new one that's just like spray can or like spray paint simulator.
I saw one last night. What was it? Like crime scene cleanup simulator or something. I was like, oh my lord, there's one for everything.
I mean, to be honest, some of them don't seem too terrible. Like, I mean, I like the idea of that kind of
I'd
like
be
crime scene one, or like the police one.
I'd be lying if I said I haven't raised my eyebrows once or twice at the sight of the power wash simulator before. There used to
I
be
think,
I don't know if you checked it out, but on Reddit they had like a subreddit for like power washing, and it used to get recommended to me all the time, and I actually used to sit there and watch it for like an embarrassingly long amount of time before I skip past
I mean,
it.
this is how they hook people. Is that it's just like so kind of like monotonous and like I guess like also it could be like therapeutic for some people that you just kind of like lose yourself while you're like
Exactly,
doing God
yeah.
knows what. I really like some of the Power Wash Simulator DLCs. Like there's like Shrek Swamp or like Warhammer
Oh,
40k.
I've heard that there was a Tomb Raider one, I believe, where you could
Hmm.
clean a mansion, which I thought was pretty
Yeah.
funny. At least I think it was
I,
DLC. I don't know if it has
hmm.
mod support or not.
Yeah. I mean, they clearly like hook their tendrils into people if they keep making them.
They really do, yeah. Well, there you go. Episode 14, Power Wash Simulator.
Oh yes, like cannot wait to talk about what kind of nozzle I use to clean up a bit of dirt.
Quality, quality. Well, that's it for gaming news anyway, unless you've got anything else you want to put in there.
No, I don't think there's anything to add right now. It's been a bit quiet recently.
It really has. We did mention, discuss talking about that recent Jason Schreier expose for Dragon Age, because I know you're a big fan of that. But you haven't seen it, have you? So I didn't think it was worth
No, I haven't,
delving
and like
into.
from what you told me, being as like the gist of it was is that like they were exposing that the reason the game was one of the reasons the game was so bad was because like they were shifting it from a live service thing, which is something like everyone already knew.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly why they shifted gears, because the game's been in development for so long, hasn't it? It's been like a
Yeah,
decade or something that it's been in development. I'm going to
yeah.
assume, if I had to guess, I'm going to say it was probably Star Wars Battlefront. That would be
That
my
or
guess.
Anthem,
That or Anthem, yeah.
one of those two. I mean, to be honest, I didn't play Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and I don't think I would.
Yeah,
Even now, um, it's just a far cry from what the franchise used to be, which is a crying shame because it
yeah.
Dragon Age was considered one of the goats of fantasy role playing game like video games.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember hearing about it quite a lot back in the day.
Hmm.
Inquisition, I think, is the one that I heard the most about. I remember that one getting a lot of hype when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I love Inquisition. It's such a really good game.
Hmm.
But
I've got
yeah,
them in my library, but I need to get around to trying them at some point.
yeah. I mean, they are worth playing, just not the most recent one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I might try it at some point. Like I say, embarrassingly, it went free on PlayStation not that long ago, so I do own it. So it might be worth
Yeah,
trying
but
at some point for a laugh.
your backlog is so large right now.
I know, and all these free games on there and on Epic Games Store, it's like, oh, I just
Hmm.
can't keep up. Game Pass.
Yep. Yep. Mhm.
There's like something coming out every week. I'm trying to think what was recently added to Game Pass. Honestly, I did look at it the other night, but I'm totally drawing brain fog on it. Um, nah, I can't remember. If it comes back to me later on, I'll mention it as an anecdote. But
No worries.
I'm ready to move on if you want to go on to the next topic.
Yeah, sure. I'll dive into the topics of this episode. So, this episode, we're going to discuss our initial thoughts on Elden Ring Nightreign. Josh and I have played a few matches now, both on our own and together. We beat the first Night Lord together, and while I've gone a bit further and beat the second one, we both still feel that we've played enough of it now to give some initial impressions. So, with that said, topics for this episode will cover the background and context of the game, our initial thoughts, the world design and gameplay, characters, critiques, and then any other little tidbits.
All right, sounds good. I just want to make a quick note before we start. If you haven't seen our previous episode covering Souls likes with Dark Souls, I just want to iterate that I haven't really played these types of games before, so I don't have as much of a footing in this series as Aiden does. So I'm just putting it out there in case before all the remarks come out.
Yeah, we still need to get you to finish Dark Souls 1. We're actually very close, so you might want to do that soon.
It might be an idea. It's just Elden Ring Nightreign's just come out of left field, hasn't it? And kind of.
I know. So I think for the initial part of it, so background and context, so what is Nightreign? So it's a mix of the roguelike and Souls formula set in the Elden Ring universe. Now, I don't think I've really played any roguelikes before, have you?
I played Hades. That was probably the
Okay.
closest to a rogue. In fact, I think it is considered a roguelike. I have played another one, but I can't remember what it is. It was a long time ago, though. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. But I do remember Hades, and I did quite enjoy that one.
Yeah.
It's basically the whole, if you haven't played one before, where it's basically you're meant to die and then try again, and you get different loot each time. So it's like a different experience, pretty much.
Would something like Darkest Dungeon be considered a roguelike?
I haven't played it, so I'm not entirely sure.
Based on what you're telling me, it's basically like a dungeon dive where you go in, get loot, and come out, and you get a little bit better each time. Is that kind of like the essence of what a roguelike is?
Pretty much, but I think like the buffs you get only like Cult of the Lamb. If you've played that, that's I believe a roguelike or considered one.
Right.
Yeah, you basically get like random upgrades each time you play. So you'll get like you'll get a choice of like a boost of health. You know how you get those things at the end of a Nightreign boss, where it gives you like the 3 weapons or upgrades or spells, whatever it might be. Those are basically what you typically get in a roguelike. At least that's how it was in Hades and Cult of the Lambs. So.
Right. Okay.
It's like basically it's just rerunning the gauntlet until you get something that plays in your favor, I guess.
Yeah. And do you get like minor like relics or like little relics that you can like go in with? To kind of give yourself a bit of a buff out of the gate.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say those are definitely the roguelike elements in this game, for sure.
Okay. And as stated before, I mean, I know you said that you've not really played much of the Souls likes or even the main Souls kind of franchise, other than like Dark Souls. I guess it's probably your most played one now, isn't it?
Yeah. I have played Elden Ring a little bit, but definitely not enough to know what half of these bosses are. So a lot of this is still fairly new to me going into this.
No, I was just saying. So and my experience of it is I've played a lot of Elden Ring, and I pretty much played all of the other kind of From Software games apart from like the Armored Core series. I haven't played Demon Souls. I think that's the only one I haven't played. In fact, in terms of the actual proper Souls like games.
I was gonna say I'm trying to think how many there are. Does Sekiro count? I'm guessing it does.
Yeah, Sekiro's a funny one. It is a Souls-like game, but it's also very much a different game to Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Like it's a lot more like I'd say it plays a lot more like this in terms of like the pace of it.
Alright.
But more RPG elements and. Like you focus more on your parries and things like that. So yes and no, and obviously it's set in the real world. But no, there's the Souls trilogy. There's Bloodborne, which I have played, even though that's PlayStation exclusive. Demon Souls, obviously, and then Elden Ring. I think that's all of them, and then obviously this one, and then you got the Armored Core series, but I've not played those ones either.
Yeah, I don't know if they're considered Souls-likes, are they? Armored Core?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I've not even seen any kind of gameplay or like discussion about it, so I have no idea what Armored Core is like.
I've seen a few.
I don't know.
I was just going to say, I've seen a few people talk about it, and apparently it's not a Souls-like, but it is difficult. But they don't consider it a Souls-like, I don't think.
Right. Fair
Again,
enough.
coming from someone who hasn't played them, just hearing
Yeah.
word of mouth.
Yeah.
What we said, sorry.
No. I was just like going on with what you're saying. Yeah, and then I've also played a couple of other like Souls-like games which aren't made by From Software. So I played Lies of P and is it Wulong? I think that's what it's called. So I'm very experienced in these games. I think I can safely say.
I would say so. You're usually the last one standing in these fights, so I'll take that.
That's because I play Iron. That's because I play Iron Eye, and I'm too far back to get hit most of the time.
That's fair. What's that quote that Nikolai says in Zombies about sniper rifles?
Oh, snipers may wear diapers, but we get all the ladies.
Yeah. Not that I can
Damn
talk.
straight.
My strategy on Elden Ring Nightreign is just to stand behind them and hack their ankles while they're not looking, so I can't say how
Yep.
much better, to be fair.
So moving on, like, why did they make this game? So I read a article on the Guardian that they interviewed Hitaka Miyazaki, who isn't the game director of this one, but he is a studio head for From Software. He's the director for or pretty much most of the other games in the franchise.
Yeah.
And he basically said that, like, in this day and age, taking risks and failing in video games isn't as tolerated as it was in the past. I mean, you see, like, games like Anthem or, like, what's that one that we were just ripping into about the GTA one? Like,
Mind's Eye.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
these games get absolutely torn to shreds, and you see like studios that just go under because like they took the risk and they failed and it's not tolerated. So yeah. But Miyazaki believes that there needs to be room for failure and mistakes and to risk trying new bolder things. And they have this great philosophy of letting like other developers, like younger developers or newer developers I should say, in the studio trying out these risks on smaller titles to let them grow and mature, and give them room to bring fresh life into the workplace, which I think is a really like refreshing take on like trying new things and like letting new blood kind of like try these things in a safe environment.
Yeah, for sure. I'd also would say that like the idea of them reusing Elden Ring's assets was probably the best way to go, because it you know, from their standpoint, it costs them far less to reuse assets from Dark Souls and Elden Ring in an idea that they're not sure whether it'll stick or not.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's the best way to go about it is once you've established yourself with something that people like, and then reuse those assets in a different way and see if people like that mode before, you know, latching off and trying something really expensive that may not pan out. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And this seems to be a testing ground for the game that's going to come out on Switch 2 next year, Dusk Bloods.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is a similar kind of style game as this one.
All right.
But like he said that like they ensure that their kind of like investors are like getting their money's worth basically through their kind of mainline games, but they also give this room to kind of let people and newer developers try these try out these ideas and give them the room to make risks and give them the room to fail if that's the case.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've got it up here. So the director for this game, I'm probably going to butcher this, is Junya Ishizaki, and according to IMDb, he's a veteran for From Software, having worked on titles like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And he was the combat director for Elden Ring. So he's the director for this one is actually does pretty much know what he's doing.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I think it's a great idea that, like, they're, as I said, they're letting these developers try these things, because, like, Miyazaki's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, true.
And to kind of give these other developers the room to kind of grow their wings and learn the culture of and the mindset of how these games are made, I think it's a really healthy and refreshing idea that you don't hear about in other studios.
Yeah, absolutely. They normally like in typical AAA like landscapes. They normally like to throw the same talent over and over again on different projects and have them do that. So it's like I say, it's refreshing to see them try something new with less experienced employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I was going to add something else there on the end, but I've totally lost it. It's just not been my day as far as train of thought goes.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a bit early in the morning for you, isn't it?
Aye, for sure. So yeah, I'm running on 4 hours sleep, so bear with me.
Of course. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say it now. I'm apologising if I'm taking over a lot of the discussion and talking point here.
No, it's fine. You're far more experienced with Elden Ring than I am, so.
All right. Well, I'll kind of get through this bit, and then you can kick us off with your initial thoughts. So, this game is the third Elden Ring installment to be released in a summer, with the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC being released last summer, and then the main Elden Ring game coming the summer before. So we've had 3 summers of just Elden Ring content, which is crazy.
They couldn't pick a worse time of year to play a game that's meant to get on your nerves than when it's warm, when it's sweaty, when it's humid.
Oh, I know.
Like the last weekend we've had. Dear Lord.
Yeah. Just kind of touching on that real quick, I'm loving, like, it's my favorite annual tradition on like TikTok, seeing like all of these like people who come from like hot countries and who have like made a joke of like how like Britain's making like saying like 27-degree heat is like a heat.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's child's play. It's not that bad.
Exactly. And then when they get here, they're like, "I've never been so wrong. This is what like UK heat hits different."
It really does. Like, I was like, I went to Vegas like a couple of years ago. Oh, it was, it was a couple of years ago, and God, the difference in when it's hot compared to what it's like here, it is crazy. It's the humidity in Britain's just off the charts.
Yeah,
it's unbearable when it gets hot. And I like that a lot of these countries use like air conditioning like almost everywhere. Yep. whereas here you kind of you're stuffed. If it's too hot, you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because our houses are built to like retain the heat as well. So like, you you think you're gonna come out in like to a nice cool house after blistering outside heat, and then you just immediately get hit by hot air as soon as you open the door.
Yeah, exactly. Like, have you ever stood next to like your front door or something, and it's radiating off the door? You can feel it on the inside, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
no.
Exactly. I mean, like, that was one of my favourite comments I saw on TikTok, was like someone saying like the UK it's not heat, it's radiation.
Pretty much. And what's worse is it's only getting hotter.
I know. I'm just gonna die.
Like, I remember once when I was like going down the motorway, and there was like this massive pond off to the side on a really warm day, and I was like, I just kind of want to get out and just dive into this pond and just start swimming.
yeah, except you'd probably like boil in it.
Aye, for sure. You'd hit it and it'll be more like glass.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't expect this to be a discussion today, but...
Yeah, I know. Let's get back on topic. So, as kind of like discussed, Nightreign reuses a lot of assets from the mainline Elden Ring game and its DLCs, as well as bringing old enemies back from across the Dark Souls trilogy. I don't know if there's having a look, there isn't any enemies from like Demon Souls or Bloodborne.
Right.
But so like there's a lot of returning like assets and enemies from Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 though, which is a nice little callback. We'll get over into a minute like why that's the case. But I am really enjoying like that. We're kind of like it's nice to see like when a Dark Souls like 1 or 2 boss like shows up, and I'm like, oh, this again.
Yeah, like I think we kind of had that experience with again the other boss because now I keep getting the names mixed up. The what's it called? I'm going to call it the Gaping Dragon again because I always keep forgetting that which one's which. So
Are you talking about the Night Lord or
no,
the
no, no, no,
actual?
no. The Dark Souls 1 boss.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it's the Gaping Dragon.
That one's the Gaping Dragon, right?
Hmm.
See, they've called them something similar in the menu, so I'm always getting them mixed up. But
Yeah.
it was really nice to see that, even though it's coming in like Funko Pop size this
Mhm.
time. They've like really shrunk it down to fit into the arena. We might have footage of it.
Yeah.
I'll see if I've got any
Yeah.
footage of it on screen. I think I did record the game where we fought it. I
Mhm.
believe I did. So I'll have to check that. But yeah, it was nice to see it again, and with the music in tow as well.
Yeah, that was really cool, and I've noticed that with a couple of like other legacy enemies that we fought, like they reuse their old soundtracks, which I think is
Yeah,
again another really nice callback. I'm glad that they've done that.
yeah, for sure.
Um, so despite the asset reuse, there is a lot of new stuff in the game. So we've got new bosses in the form of Night Lords, and they are no pushover. We've
Yeah, for
got new
sure.
Yeah, we've got new characters, each with their own movesets and skills, and there's a story. There is actually a story, despite it kind of being in its own thing. Like there is a story that goes on that, and that explains the events that are happening. So yeah, a bit of old and a bit of new, which I think is really, 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 really nice to have.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I know I keep reiterating it, but I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of these games, so I don't really get the nostalgia, I guess, of seeing some of this older stuff come back. But
Yeah.
it was kind of a topic I was thinking of getting into a bit later, so I think I'll come back to it if I remember,
Okay.
which hasn't
Yep.
been the point today, but you know we might get there eventually.
No worries.
I'll let you know if it comes back up again.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna ask this question now, but really, I guess I should. It might be better to ask this later, but I'll ask it here anyway. Do you think it's worth the £35 or $40 cost?
Well, actually, I could bring it up here. It's a pretty good point. For me, as someone who hasn't experienced a lot of the stuff in this game, I would say yes. I don't know about for people who've already bought Elden Ring and completed it and
Hmm.
beaten Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 as well. But for me, a lot of the content that I'm experiencing while playing it is brand new. So
Yeah.
for me, I would say it's been worth it. But it's like I said, it's kind of hard to say for someone who's already bought this content and played through a lot of it before. Outside of the Night Lords, I believe that's the only thing that's new, isn't it? Pretty much, apart from the
Yeah.
runes, unless they show up in Elden Ring as well.
Well,
Um,
to put it into kind of context, the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC for Dark Souls, not Dark Souls, sorry, Elden Ring, was costed about the same amount.
all right, okay. Um,
And
Again, though, I haven't played that either, so I can't really use that to gauge it either. So I think this is more something you'll probably have a say in more than me, as someone who's
yeah,
played all of these games before standalone.
yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, like you are a relatively new player, and like if you think that's like the cost of the game is definitely worth what it is, then that's totally valid and like yeah, that's a totally valid point of view. Um, Being a veteran that I am, I'd still say that this is a really good cost for what you get. There's quite a bit of replayability. There is enough new things that does make it feel fresh. Even though you're facing like a lot of the old kind of enemies and assets and things like that. Um, I would say this does feel more like a DLC than its own kind of standalone game, which again is fine. Like, I probably would have a bit more of an issue with this if it costs like 50 quid or something.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with
So
that.
I think 35 is more than reasonable for something that was effectively a side project.
Yeah,
I've seen
absolutely.
people like saying like it should be like $20, and I'm like, are you mad? Like with how much games cost to make these days.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't go that low. Definitely not.
No, no.
Um, maybe the lowest I'd maybe make it 35 or something, but I wouldn't go. I definitely wouldn't bring it down to 20. But
Yeah,
again, like I say, I've got the advantage of having not played the previous ones, so it's all new content to
yeah,
me. So I might be a
and
bit
like
biased that way.
yeah, I mean like even with the enemies that you have fought before, so like using the gaping dragon for example again, like do you feel like that felt like exactly the same kind of fight that you would have had in Dark Souls 1 compared to this?
No, not particularly. I
Mm.
didn't like seeing audibly groan at the fact that I had to fight the same boss I'd already fought before. Because it was
Hmm.
an enjoyable fight, and the fights in this, well, in Dark Souls as well, were relatively well designed. So I didn't have any qualms about fighting them again because I'm pretty sure most people who play these games a lot have played them multiple times
Yeah.
by choice. So I don't personally see the issue in fighting them again.
Yeah, I
No, I
mean,
had fun with it.
hmm and I've fought the Gaping Dragon like loads of times now, and even this felt like different to me for me.
Yeah,
Just by the very virtue that we're playing with like three other people, and we have our own different like move sets and such like that. So yeah,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
I I think the pricing is very fair.
I will say one thing that's really surprised me with the game is I actually, since like I know we came into this game initially, like I remember we mentioned it a few episodes ago as well. We came into it thinking, "Oh, I wish it added duos right from the off." But to be honest, I actually really enjoy playing this with 3 players.
Hmm.
I don't actually know if I would even go back to duos when it gets added. To be totally
Yeah.
honest, I like the randomness of having that third player and seeing how they engage with the fight as well. You know what I mean? And also
Hmm.
having that bit of extra help. Especially
Mind
a ranged player.
Yeah, yeah. Mind you, we've had a couple of duds, haven't we?
Yeah, we have for sure. Like I've seen a lot of people complain about people quitting. I don't think it's happened to us all that often, really. Maybe once or twice.
No, yeah, no, I've not experienced that too much myself either. Like playing on my own, there's not really been any quitters. So,
Yeah.
um, though I think that like there are people who do complain about people quitting a lot. So I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, for sure. I'm certainly not one of those types to be like, it didn't happen to me, so it doesn't happen. I don't
Yeah,
doubt there's probably people out there that quit like almost immediately after dying or something like that.
yeah, but equally, it's not as big an issue as people are claiming it to be online.
At least it doesn't appear to be. Like I say,
Hmm.
I don't want to say that it's not happening to certain
Oh
players because
no,
it may
yeah,
well
no,
be,
it
but
yeah, like it does happen, but I think like I've seen a lot of people saying like every match they play, like someone quits, and I'm like, really? I don't think so.
yeah, I'll
Um,
take your word on that because you played it with 2 other randoms, whereas I've only played it when we play it really with randoms. So
hmm.
for me, it's
Hmm.
only one player who has the opportunity to quit. So
Yeah, no, that's
and
that's fair.
um, but yeah, if you say you're not experiencing it, then I'm assuming it can't be that much of an issue.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
they
as
have. Oh, go on.
I was just saying like I'm not experiencing it as much as people say there is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I also find that when people do quit, they have recently added penalties, haven't they, of sorts?
Yeah, I don't know what form that really takes because I've had to quit a couple times myself, and I've not really seen something like seen what like the penalty is. Like, I've not had been told like I can't play for 10 minutes or anything. And I just want to reiterate here, I haven't quit. Like I don't make a habit of quitting. Like I genuinely like have every intention of going in to finish, but
So I can
having
hear
to
people
quit.
sparking the torches and
Yeah,
getting out
yeah,
the
yeah.
pitchforks.
That's why I'm like, hold up, hold up. I'm not, and I don't make a habit of this. Like, I genuinely, like, if my daughter is woken up and, like, I have to deal with her, I have to, like, quit or something like that, just to kind of,
Yeah,
like, even though she's meant to be asleep in bed, so, yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway, anyway, that's by the by. Why don't you take us away with your kind of initial impressions and thoughts on the game as a whole?
Um,
How are you finding it?
yeah. So I've been enjoying it. Largely. There are a few things here and there where I'm a bit like. I'm sure I've said it to you a few times. Maybe, like sometimes even out of frustration, where I'm like, you're like, go do this or go to this place, mark this place. I'm like, I don't know how. I've never done any of this. And I had to go on solo. That's why I went on solo because I was like, right, how does all this stuff work? Because there's all these like status effects and like weapons and stuff that use certain like stuff like holy and lightning and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know any of these enemies, so I feel totally in the dark using this. So I feel like
Yeah.
it can be a bit difficult as a new player if you haven't played Elden Ring already to get into the flow of how this one plays. Like I said, some of the stuff on the map, I didn't know what half of it was. Because I like what happens in general matches when we play is people will ping things, and I'll just be like, okay, I'm just following that. I'm not because I never
Here for
have a
the
need.
ride.
Yeah, exactly. I never had a need to look at the map, so I was always just like, all right, someone's marked some map. Let's go over there. So I did find that a bit difficult to get used to, and I think other people might as well if they're totally new to Elden Ring. But I think once you do get into it, I think it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what the other bosses are like, because as of now, we've only done the first two, as we said earlier. So there's still quite a lot of the game left. I don't know if any other things will change, because I do remember, was it like after we beat the first one, there was those Shaking Earth events or whatever they were called, and I haven't seen those come up since.
Yeah, and I think we made a mistake in like sleeping in the bed to kind of like stop those events. But it does seem to be a way to reactivate them later on.
Right.
But that does shift up the map a little bit. Like basically, like in some instances, like a whole crater can spawn in like the game.
All right. I didn't know that the whole sleeping thing toggled it off entirely. I thought it was something that was going to recurrently come back, and we'd have to
Yeah,
keep going to sleep if you didn't want to deal with it. But I was
yeah, that's what I assumed.
yeah. So we ended up sleeping through it, and now feels like we kind of missed some content in that way, I guess. But that's not something that's like a point worth complaining about. It's just a observation, I guess.
Yeah.
But overall, despite the confusion, I have really enjoyed playing it. If you've seen any of our streams on it, it's been quite wild, hasn't it? Trying to get through this second boss that's been
Yeah.
the new one, the one from Elden Ring, Nightreign exclusively that I can't remember the name of.
Adele.
Yeah, that's the one. Now I'm just thinking of the same.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so we've only done as Eden said earlier, we've only done the first two, so
Yeah.
I
We
haven't
haven't even
experienced
beaten
the whole.
second one together, have we?
Not yet, no. And we got close. Again, if you checked out the streams, you'll have seen how close we got last time. We got very close. It was literally below its name on the health bar. And I was
Yeah.
like, ah.
I think we'll manage it soon.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like it does get easier each time you do it, so I'm hoping that we'll get there eventually. There is one tiny little nitpick I do have though, and I've said it to you a few times when we played it, and it's the fact that there's no way to guarantee weapons that have certain attributes, like poison or fire or whatever, holy, whatever other elements there might be. So if you have an enemy that's specifically poison, like the one we're trying to deal with, you're not always guaranteed a poison weapon. So that does kind of get a bit annoying, because it feels like your entire game kind of relies on you getting that weapon. I mean, it doesn't. You can beat it without it. but
Yeah.
it makes your life so much harder not having access to poison. I wish there was a way to almost upgrade your weapons to have the attribute, sort of like how you pick alternate ammo types in zombies or something. Like a
Yeah,
way
yeah,
to
or like
go on.
upgrade paths in Dark Souls.
Yeah, for sure. Like maybe give it something that comes up when you use like a stone with the merchant on the smithing table. Maybe have it there. Let you choose an attribute. But other than that, yeah, no, I think it's a really solid game so far. Again, I might think differently once we finished it, because I know a lot of people who said they finished it and they've thought, oh, maybe that's when it's not worth the money. But until we
Yeah.
finished it, it's kind of hard to say. So we're still kind of in the honeymoon phase, I guess, if you want to call it
Yeah,
that.
I suppose it really kind of depends on what you value your money in. Do you value it on like time, or do you value it like time played, or do you value it on like the content or, like content within the game?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, like whether it's new content or like enough content, how much replay value, etc., etc. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I would also say
I
that
get,
it's one thing that adds hugely to this game for me is being able to play it in multiplayer. It being multiplayer focused is the big appeal for me, personally.
yeah.
I don't know how much I would have played it on solo had I only meant to play it on solo. But for multiplayer, I think it's a lot of fun. If you just want to play Dark Souls with your friends.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic considering like you're not overly a multiplayer kind of person, are you?
Not generally, no, but I don't know, there's something about Souls-likes in multiplayer that just work. You know what I mean? Especially on the
Yeah.
co-op. Not so much the invasion aspect. I'm not a big fan of that as much. But the co-op aspect I really like.
Yeah, I think it comes down to kind of like you're all kind of. I know in zombies you're like all kind of trying to serve like a means to an end, and like you're kind of working together with that. But like I
Yeah.
think in this you're kind of forced to help each other out, go where you need to go, get your upgrades together. Rather, whereas in zombies there's a selfish nature to it as well.
Yes, yeah.
Like kill stealing and like mystery box hogging, etc., etc. Like
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like this game, like everyone gets an upgrade. Like if one player kills an enemy, everyone else gets runes as well. Like there's no kind
Yeah.
of like you do get people who run off and do their own thing, but more often than not, they get themselves killed. So like yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. It's basically like you said, it's like the only person that you're hurting by not helping your team in Elden Ring and Dark Souls, I guess, is yourself.
Hmm.
Because, it's... Unless you... Unless it's that, what's that guy called again? Who does everything solo? In Elden Ring. The guy with the pot on his head.
Oh, let me solo her.
Unless you've got him, he can probably afford to be as neglectful as he wants. You know what I mean?
The thing is with that, it's like and previous like games that are previous to this, like the standard mainline games, is that like when you summon people in to help you with like bosses or like areas, they are obligated to kind of like they wouldn't put the summon sign down if they weren't going to help you. So like they're kind of obligated to fight the boss with you. Like there's nowhere
Yeah,
else they can
true.
go. There's nothing else they can do. They can't physically hurt you.
Yeah.
So like if you're summoning people to help you, it's different if you're like you got invasions and such like that. But like if you're actually summoning like helpful operators, then that's kind of like their whole kind of thing that they got to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's pretty much my thoughts on it anyway. What about you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I find this very addictive. I
Yeah.
really, really, really like the gameplay loop. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the series anyway, but I'm there's lots of it that I really enjoy. Like, I like that I can just if I've got an hour spare, I can jump into a game and get as far as I can, but there's no real consequence if I don't lose. I'm not. It's not like Elden Ring or like previous Souls games where you might have built up loads of like souls or runes or gear or whatever that you then get killed at a boss and you basically have to do the run back and you get like um you get kind of stuck in the places. Like with this,
Yeah.
you go in, you might win or die, but then that's fine. You don't really lose anything. You're not
Yeah.
losing progress. And yeah, I mean, I like, same as you, I like the multiplayer aspect of it. I do play solo as well, but the multiplayer side of it is definitely a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, despite that, there are like a lot of asset reuse. As I've already kind of discussed, like it does feel fresh as well. I'm liking kind of like the story element of it. Where like your characters have got their own kind of journals and like mini side quests that they can do.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a good
Um,
point, actually. I didn't even think to mention that.
mm, mm,
I only
um,
visited it once, I think, on launch day.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, completely slipped my mind. What are you saying?
Um, and while the Night Lords can be tough, and it is like frustrating sometimes, where you just get nearly killed, or where you nearly kill it and your team just gets wiped.
Yeah.
There is also an element of it that's absolutely exhilarating when you do finally beat it. The I've beaten the second one, the Adele one, and I was saying this to you the other night. Basically, it got to a point where both of
You
my
had to, like, clutch it
teammates,
solo.
yeah, exactly, like both my teammates had gotten knocked down, and both of them were at 3 bars, and I only had like one flask left. And I had to use that pretty quickly, so I was pretty much running it on like no
Alright.
flasks. I was tapped with resources, and it got to a point like where I was thinking it's going to take me longer to revive them and more risky to revive them than it is for me to beat this, because the health bar was only about 10%.
Yeah.
And the boss gets really aggressive when it's purely targeting you.
Yeah, for sure.
And just by a sheer amount of like skin of my teeth here, I managed to finally beat it. I think I didn't even have my ult charged. And it was on top of me basically, and it was coming in for a chew attack,
Oh, Lord.
which
Not
for
that
me
one.
is usually a death sentence, and it would have been a death sentence, but I managed to kind of just dodge it and then use a powered up charge to like finish it off. And it's
Nice.
so exhilarating when you actually finish a boss in a really clutch way like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, I mean, I do have my nitpicks with it. Similar to you, like it does feel a bit unfair when you can't find weapons that are specifically against the boss. I can see, like, while I don't have the issue of not knowing what things are, as much as yourself and newer players do, I can see how that can be an issue. Like, what does this rejuvenating bolus do? Like,
Yeah.
how does that give me resistance to whatever?
Yeah, for sure.
What element are these like standard bosses weak to? Like, I think you told you the other day, like dragons are typically weak to lightning,
Yes,
which you
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know. So, yeah, and like I can see, like, for people who haven't played like Elden Ring, like how that can be if you're not familiar with like the moveset of certain enemies or what they might be weak to or what status effects things give out. I can see how that can be quite intimidating, and it's almost like, as I said, you're just tagging along for the ride while everyone else is doing the other thing. So I do
Yeah.
apologize for those kind of like earlier games where where I probably made you feel like I'm rushing you around, because I'm like, let's go here, let's go there.
No, no, no. I totally get why you do it. I mean, you kind of need to be honest. Any time spent standing still is time wasted in this
Yeah,
game. You
yeah.
have no choice. It just makes it kind
Mhm.
of difficult to learn on the go, you know, when it's going so quickly and you can't afford to slow down. Because, like I say,
Yeah.
I'd pick items up and I'd be like, or what does this do? And you bring up the inventory to read it, but everyone's already taken off to the other side of the map. So you're just kind of like, well, I can't stand here. So, you end up trying to, what's the word? Trying to, like, find a moment to sit and read it, but you just don't. Yeah, but you just don't really get one. So, I mean, it's not impossible to overcome. Like, you can, the more times you play it, the more times you pick it up, the more you get a gist of what each item does. But it can be a bit overbearing at first, at least if you haven't played the games before.
Absolutely, and that's the case for like most like new games that you don't have any experience in.
For sure,
like, you're like, what the hell is happening? What do I do?
Yeah,
and I almost wish that there was a kind of like more in-depth tutorial for these things. And I don't know if there's anything in like the hub that kind of in the training area that kind of tells you or like has these items in that you can kind of go over.
I don't think so. It's funny you mentioned that because it was actually something I was thinking about the other day that maybe they should have had it in the tutorial because the game does seem to assume you've played Elden Ring before. It definitely seems to be in its DNA for sure.
Yeah, which I mean that's kind of why I'm like why this for me feels more like a DLC than an actual proper game because like most people who have played previous stuff will kind of pick this up a lot quicker than newer players.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I just want to make it clear that I don't want to put anyone off with that sentiment because, like I say, you can get over it. But it just might take a few games before you figure out what half of the items do if you haven't played Elden Ring before. It can be a bit overbearing at times.
Yeah, for real. One last thing that I was kind of thinking on my initial thoughts, and I mentioned this to you the other night as well. Like, I really like how even though the game is set on the same map, so to speak, each like the buildings and locations aren't necessarily always in the same spots. And even so, like you might have a different boss in those areas, so it makes each run feel relatively fresh.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing that I would say about it is even though we go to the same locations, each game does feel new. Like you get different enemies in the same locations that you fought other ones, so it keeps it feeling a bit fresh. I think my favourite location so far is probably the church with the hole in the ground because it normally has like the easiest bosses. So I've totally fallen for that one.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the castles are typically the central castle is most people's favourite. I don't know. I quite like the Everjails. They're always fun to do.
It's that for me, or the camps with those fire turret things, because that one's another dead easy one.
Oh, the chariots.
Yeah.
yeah, they're fun to do.
I still haven't learned this double jump thing though. I'm gonna have to get around to figuring it out at some point.
I mean, you know how you kind of climb up cliff faces? Basically, just do the same get to the back of these chariots, double jump them as much as you can, like you're climbing up a cliff, and at the apex of your second jump, hit the light attack button, and you should do an animation.
Alright, okay. Is this possible in the original game? I'm assuming you don't get...
Well, yeah, the issue with the mainline game is that you don't get your kind of double jump. You only get your single jump.
Right.
But there is a way to do a plunge attack on it, so...
right, okay.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Good to know. I have to keep that in mind if I get to one of those on the main game.
Do you have any other thoughts to go over?
No, I think that's pretty much covered it, unless you want to add anything else.
No, I didn't have anything else there. So, yeah, moving on to world design and gameplay. So, just to kind of give a bit context here. So, Nightreign is set in a parallel world to the mainline Elden Ring game, and it's not considered canon. So, if any kind of lore purists out there, this isn't canon to the general lore of Elden Ring. So it takes place in the lands of Limveld, which is an ever-changing landscape, as we've kind of mentioned. Things may change depending on your journey, and you've got a central hub called the Shrouded Roundtable Hold, which is where you can talk with other characters, gear up, and advance the story. Um, so just kind of moving on, that's kind of like the premise of the world design. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's pretty standard fare, really, for any multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
The whole round table hold, it kind of reminds me of Monster Hunter again. I know I keep referring to this franchise. We'll have to try it at some point, honestly.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. You've got like a hub where you can go and join up with other players, that sort of thing. Pick whichever. It's basically the same idea. It's like you go to the table, pick a monster that you want to deal with, and then you find a group of people to do it with. So it's basically the same idea. So I already like that idea from the out, so I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
It being canon doesn't mean a whole lot to me, because, again, I haven't played Elden Ring proper to completion, so I should probably say where I got. I got to, what's that boss that shows up? Lionel something? Misbegotten or something?
Misbegotten, yeah, the one that at Castle Morn, for those who have played Elden Ring.
Yes, that's as far as I played. That was like immediately where I went upon starting the game, so that was where I put it down, because I wanted to finish Dark Souls first before moving on with the series. So I don't really have a lot of experience with the lore of Elden Ring proper. Again, as we've talked about in Dark Souls, everything's very mysterious in these games, and not very easy to get on your first playthrough without reading resources online. So it's like I said, that part doesn't mean so much to me, but I'm sure it'll come as we go through it a bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
go
is
on.
the lack of I'm just gonna ask here, is the lack of kind of like obvious story and I say obvious, it's the lack of like an obvious story and like lore and such, like detracting from your experience at all?
Um, for like this game specifically, or Elden Ring
Yeah.
as a whole. Well, I would say this one so far has been probably the most on the nose that FromSoft have ever been, in my experience.
Yeah.
I basically got this lass, I can't remember what her name is, sitting here telling me, "Oh, this is what's happening. There's these Night Lords. Go kill them to fix things."
Yeah.
I'm like, fair enough.
That's
Easy
all
to
I
follow.
need.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know who these like why they're there, what's happening, what caused this to happen. And like you say, because it's a spin-off, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to affect anything in the main series.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it for what it is, I guess. Like I said, for me, it is as surface level as that. Go do this because I said so. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad setup for an online game. You know what I mean?
I think that's kind of the general formula that like From Software seems to follow is like basically you're given enough to kind of get the gist of what you need to do, why
But not
you're
why you're
doing
doing
it,
it.
and what the
Ah.
deeper lore is more if you want to kind of explore that and kind of dive into like the deeper stuff basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Like for most people, lore doesn't even factor in, and lore and story doesn't factor in. They just want to kill, like, go around fighting bosses, and that's it.
No, yeah.
Which is like that you're given an ample enough kind of information to just do that. So, in my experience, like it caters to both kind of like casual players and kind of more hardcore kind of story delvers.
Yeah, for sure. I have no doubt that scraping away at the surface, there's probably a lot more deeper lore going on here than what it looks like from the outset. But again, it's not something I've delved into too much. I'll have to go back and reread the journals. But I'm assuming that they update them when you beat one of the new bosses. So mine's probably still be the same as the last time I looked at it, I'd imagine.
Not necessarily. So that, yeah, you're right on to some extent. So you basically, at least for the one that I've been doing, you can get up to, I think, chapter 4 by just completing a run, whether victory or defeat.
Right.
And then on the 4th chapter, at least for my character, you get a remembrance quest.
Alright,
Where
that's pretty
you
cool.
basically get given a task that you have to do in the map on a run. For me, it was to go kill a particular enemy. Then once
Alright.
you've done that, that particular remembrance quest is done. Now to advance, so now I'm on chapter 5. So to advance it for my next chapter, I have to defeat 4 Night Lords.
Alright, okay.
And that could just be like 4 of the first Night Lord. It doesn't have to be any particular Night Lord. It's just 4 of them.
I'm assuming
And then
we're not fortunate enough for it to count the 2 we've already done.
no, well, no,
No,
no.
damn.
It's 4 from the ones you've already beaten. So I think I've beaten 2 already.
Right.
So I beat Adele, and I went back and beat Gladius with someone,
Alright.
like with some randoms. So I've done 2, so I just need to do 2 more, and then I can advance my story. So there is an element of like personal character stories,
Oh, yeah.
and in terms of the overarching story as to why the events are happening, it's basically like given to you on a silver platter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I feel like it's probably more beneficial to do it that way for a multiplayer game. Since I
Yeah.
imagine most people are playing it with their friends, unless they're really, like, hardcore into the lore, they're probably just going to boot it up and be like you say, I just want an excuse to go and kill things for an hour.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the same with like the like Elden Ring main game and the Souls games. Is that you're told where to go, or initially what to do, but if you want to know like why everything's happening, who these like people you're fighting are, etc.,
Yeah.
then it rewards a bit more kind of like in-depth exploration.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're given enough to just get by.
Aye, 100%. Yeah, like you said, they definitely give you enough. As far as the changing landscape goes, I think it's enjoyable enough. We kind of already touched on that in gameplay. Or is it gameplay next? It's gameplay next.
Yeah, it's gameplay next, but we did mention about the kind of changing landscape.
Yeah. I do appreciate that the castles and that change locations on each playthrough, which is pretty cool. It keeps things
Yeah.
feeling unique each time you play it.
And even like the rings that kind of, I call them the kind of Fortnite rings, storm
Oh, yeah,
rings
yeah.
that kind of close in. Like even they aren't always like static. They do kind of change. So your kind of traversal of the land is it's very different to each game.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but is that not standard for a lot of these kinds of games? Battle
Oh
Royales
yeah, for real.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were making the point that it was unique to this one.
No. What I'm saying is that like each run feels unique. You're not traversing the same locations like each
Yeah.
run while predicting like I don't drop into a run knowing exactly where each ring is going to close down on, so I plan my path accordingly and thus never like go to certain locations. Like each game, I feel like I'm going a different path and I'm going to fight new enemies or go to different locations that haven't been in previous game or previous runs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I see.
I mean, I probably would be worth saying here. So, like, in terms of like the general kind of gameplay here, so you traverse the lands of Limfeld, upgrade your characters, scavenge weapons to help you fight the denizens of the land. You play with either three people or on your own. Each run usually takes 45 minutes to an hour, and as I've already said, like each day.
That's not entirely true. If you're me, it takes about 15 minutes.
And as already alluded to, each day the storm closes in or the night closes in. If you played like any kind of battle royale, you'll be familiar with that kind closing ring, as it were. And that'll close in twice, and then you'll fight a night boss. And if you beat it, then you can go on for a second day, and rinse and repeat. You upgrade, go fight tougher enemies. The ring shrinks again, and then once you defeat the second night boss, you'll then be able to transport to fight the Night Lord, which is, if you've leveled up enough, you'll be able to kind of have a decent fight. If you're under leveled, then goodbye.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's the general gist of it. What do you think of like the general gameplay?
Yeah, I find it enjoyable. Like I say, it was a bit slow at the start because of reasons I've already mentioned. But once you get going with it, I think it's pretty fun. It's very replayable, which I quite like.
Yeah.
It's basically, you can play your first maybe 3 hours or so of Dark Souls in about 15 minutes. So it's like, it's a very bite-sized version of the main game, which I think works a lot better than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah.
The idea of being able to fast-track your level up like that, and, it kind of takes the grindiness out of it and makes it a bit more just, straight action, which I quite like. It's very, it's a lot faster paced than the main experiences that we've had before. So, I think for a spin-off, it's really fun. I do really enjoy fighting the bosses at night and seeing who we get. Though you kind of like learned the patterns a bit, haven't you? With how to tell which boss we're getting based on certain factors, like the enemies and.
Yeah, so like at the end of each night, you generally have to, when you get like on that final ring, you have to fight like some standard enemies before the night boss comes around. And yeah, I have started to kind of pick up on what the main boss is that we're gonna be fighting. Like if it's
yeah, for sure,
spiders, then it's gonna be like the Duke's Dear Freya, or if it's rats, then it's gonna be like the Gaping Dragons. So whether that remains the same as we get further in and beat other kind of like Night Lords, that remains to be seen, but that's kind of what I picked up so far.
I do kind of like the idea because it gives you an ample time to prepare for it. So you're like, alright, I know what I'm dealing with. I can get out of range before it spawns in. That sort of thing. So it certainly comes in clutch, being able to have that happen. There is one thing that I should probably mention. Like, I don't know if this is probably the best spot for it, but we'll see. One element that I do find kind of annoying about these bosses, or the small bosses, and that's the fact that other bosses can intrude on the fight if you manage to lure them into the area beforehand. I wish that wasn't the case. I think they should get phased out the second the storm closes. I'm not a big... Like, we got stuck with was it the worm?
Magma worm, yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of the boss fight arena, and it was like, it took so much of our health just trying to get it to despawn.
Yeah.
And you can't... Like, obviously, once you start one of these encounters, there's no, like, sites of grace or anything to return to. You have this is do or die at this point. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like having something like that invade the space right as a boss is about to happen can be really debilitating. Because you want to save all your stuff for the boss, don't you? What were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah, for real. No, I agree with you. And I was just kind of like, that's going to be like one of my main gripes with kind of the world design or like the gameplay, whatever you want to call it. Like, there's a particular Everjail on the right side of the map in the forest, which is also very close to where the final ring of a night can close in. And 9 times out of 10, there's a great enemy nearby to one of those, like between those two locations.
Right.
So if you're wanting to go into the Everjail, the same worm came in and basically like ruined our like fight on the Everjail, and we then had to retreat back to the because the storm's closing in. We then had to retreat back to where the ring was closing, but because this worm didn't despawn, it followed us there. So whoever like that whoever kind of placed that that particular great enemy or a great enemy there between those two locations really needs to kind of readjust where that spawns.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was. I don't know if it's the same one we did, but I do remember it being in a forested area when we had to fight that one.
It was the same one, and it just really makes for some cheap kind of like deaths. Like, what am I meant to do here? I'm literally trying to do anything other than aggro this main boss, like this great enemy, and yet it comes into my space anyway. I was playing another game in the same area, and I activated the jail.
Yeah.
And the moment I activate it, I then get this bell-bearing hunter's sword, like, be thrown at me. You know, the big kind of, like, guy with the great sword. Him. Yeah. So I see that sword just, like, fly through me, and I'm on the ground, like, bleeding out. And I'm like, how is that fair? I wasn't even coming for you.
Yeah, like I say, I do think they should disappear when the final encounter starts. For sure, because they can get a few good cheap hits in before you're able to despawn them. I remember that was your tact, wasn't it? When we encountered the worm in that forest, you said, "Let's just run over into this corner so it despawns."
yeah, because I think I know that once you get too far away from their kind of area control, as it were, they do kind of despawn, and that works the same in general. Like, even without the kind of rings closing in, that like once you run far enough away, they do kind of phase back to where they were.
Yeah, which is a really useful thing. Though I do remember, which boss is it? It's the deer thing that kind of jumps in the air. I remember that we had
spirit.
That's the one where we had quite a bit of an issue with it because it would constantly come over to us and then immediately phase out and go all the way back to the middle and be unable to get hits because the area was just too small. So it would just keep phasing back, and it made it nearly impossible to kill in time because it just kept. I actually think we had to run away, didn't we? I don't think we could finish it. It wasted too much time by constantly teleporting back. So I do think they could adjust those zones a bit to make them either a bit bigger or a bit smaller, depending on the boss.
Yeah, for real. A part of me also, just in general, kind of like the bosses that we find out in the wild, like, a part of me does wish that they would mix it up and not have chosen some of the most annoying enemies. So, like, you got your bell-bearing knight, you've got your it was that I can't remember what it's called. It's the one that like basically spits vomit at you and just slaps you about all the time.
I can't remember what what's that giant bird one with the axe or whatever it is?
Oh, the gargoyle kind of one. Yeah. So like it appears that they kind of picked some of the most annoying enemies to kind of fight out in the wild, but
yeah, for sure.
But they kind of the rune bears as well in the sleepy area.
Oh no, not the rune bears! I hate the rune bears.
You and everyone else.
It's like one of them is hard enough to kill, but they always make you deal with like 3. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, like some of the kind of enemy pool does seem a bit questionable, so to speak, but for the most part, I do find it manageable at least. There are some enemies like the giants that are pretty fun to fight.
Oh yeah, for
certainly
sure.
More than in the main game.
I remember the another one that was kind of like that got an audible sigh from you when it spawned in. Was it the Godskin ones?
The Godskin duos. Yeah.
And I was like, they can't be that bad. Look at this guy, and then I got like immediately humbled and put down. In fairness, though, that was the game when our third player left like almost immediately. So.
Oh yeah,
we were at a bit of a disadvantage for that one.
To fight them individually, the Godskins aren't terrible, but together, like in the main game, they are a really tough fight.
Yeah. I had to look at them and I thought, they looked a bit, I thought like, they don't look that big a deal. I was totally wrong. I was like spread across the pavement by the end of it.
You will soon come to realise that like normal sized enemies are more dangerous than the big ones in these
Yeah,
games.
yeah, I've been getting that a bit with Dark Souls as well. Oh dear.
um, have we? I can't remember if we. I've done it a couple times myself, but have you and I kind of traversed the central castle much?
I don't think too much. I think every time we go
Yeah.
up there, it's often been sod this. You know what I mean? Because it's been something that's too difficult, so we end up just backing off.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, like, I don't understand the people who just ping it straight away, like, as soon as, like, they've got, like, 2 or 3 levels in. I'm like, are you mad? Like,
Yeah,
that
it,
area is not for, like, that's a night 2 kind of area.
it reminds me of when we got humbled when I got that rune that let me start with one of those stone sword keys,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we decided, right, we'll go straight to one of those right from the off. Bad
Hmm.
idea. We got immediately flattened like the first 2-3 times we tried it, and we decided,
Yeah.
right, we'll level up to 3 and then we'll try it.
Yeah, which seems to have worked. Which, I mean, for the purpose of these kind of games, like, that seems to be the idea, is that you kind of learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Um, but just going back to the central castle, I think my experience there, whether or not I want to kind of hang out there or not, really depends on what enemy is in the basement.
Oh
Because
yeah,
if it's a bell-bearing knight or one of those ones that like slap you about, I can't remember what they're called. The Royal Revenants, that's what they're
that's
called.
exactly what came to
Um,
mind when you said it.
if it's one of those, then I'm like, nah, I'm tapping out of this one. I'll go somewhere else. But if it's like something like
Yeah,
the Leonine Misbegotten, then I'll give it a go.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Royal Revenant one was a real problem. I remember that one game where we just kept dying over and over, and
Hmm.
that one player we were playing with just would not leave it alone.
Yep.
They could not let sleeping dogs lie, and they were constantly going back and just fighting it, and everyone was dropping like flies.
Uh
Somehow
huh.
we managed to get through it, barely. But God,
But
that was a
at
tough
what
one.
cost? It was very much a
Exactly.
Pyrrhic victory.
It was,
um,
yeah. It was like we did it, but now we've got like no time left to do anything else.
yeah, yeah, for real. Um, I like that. Um, I don't know where I was going with this train of thought. Oh yeah, I find that some of my runs really do depend on where the churches are to give you a flask charge.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Because
sure.
if they're like really scattered about, then I do have a harder time of it. But when they're actually close together, I can generally hit all of my flasks charged by the first night, and then focus on the second night to upgrade.
Yeah, yeah. That's always been a strategy we've done, isn't it? When we've been playing
Hmm.
together, we'll always go for the churches first if we can, if they're close enough together,
Yeah.
and then go and get everything else.
Hmm.
It seems like a valid strat.
Um, Yeah, yeah, and when the rings do close, they do give you enough time to kind of like if you see a camp or something that you think, oh, I might have enough time to actually clear this and get an upgrade before it closes in, then there is that opportunity.
Yeah,
It really depends on what is in the camp. Like if it's like those flame chariots where you can clear it in like 10 seconds, then that's fine. But if it's something
yeah.
like one of them lions that jump around, then you might have a bit of a tougher time.
Aye, for sure. And we've also noticed
Um,
one small variant, haven't we? That sometimes when you're clearing a camp or something like it, you'll sometimes get another boss. One of the night end bosses will show up on occasion, which can
oh yeah,
really throw a
the
spanner
fell
in.
omen. Yeah.
Yeah,
He will come and raid you. Though, from the runs that I've done since we had that one, it doesn't seem to be a common occurrence. Like it
yeah,
feels very much like a one of those things that happens once in a blue moon.
yeah, for sure. I think I've only seen it happen to us twice, and we've
Hmm.
played about what 15, 20 games at this point, something like
Yeah,
that. So yeah, it's definitely not
yeah.
too common, thank God, because it really throws a spanner in everything when he shows up. Although I will say on
Hmm.
the one we fought, oh, who was it again? When we had to fight him in the camp with all the night guys with the shields. I can't remember what
Oh
the
yeah.
boss name was. Um, but yeah, fighting those guys, and he just popped up, but thankfully when he did, it stopped the rain from coming in until he was dead, so at least he didn't have to deal with that. At least he didn't chew into our time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's...
target our, like, third player so much.
He really did, yeah. I like that the game tells you when you're being targeted, so you can prepare for it.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Though it is a bit daunting if you're fighting a Night Lord and suddenly all
The
of its
red
aggro
circle
is
of
on you.
doom appears.
Yeah,
And you're like,
no, leave me alone. It's okay. You might be okay if you're like a bit more tanky, but like for someone who's squishy, like he might as well just sit down and let it happen.
Yeah. It must be scary, I'd imagine, as someone who plays as Iron Eye, is it? Is that what they're called?
Yep.
Because it must like be intimidating when you're shooting it from a distance and it just suddenly snaps around.
Yeah, just tunnel visions you, like, I'm in danger.
I can imagine the feeling of like imminent doom when it just turns around like at a distance and looks at you and you're like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's heading to... Oh, okay, this is happening. Okay. Run?
Because most of the time, like, when it happens to me, because I typically use a melee character, I'm typically in too close to realise I'm being attacked until I've already been stomped into dust, so...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, at that point, you're already getting attacked anyway. You're just now getting extra attacked.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We'll get on to kind of, like, our main, like, the characters who we main and their kind of skill set in a bit. In the meantime, though, do you want to discuss, like, some of the kind of bosses that we can fight and, like, what ones you've enjoyed, what ones you've not enjoyed? I'm talking about, like, the main kind of, the night bosses, not the main night lords, just the ones that we fight at the end of...
Yeah,
well,
the
just
ones
in the
that we
world and then at the... Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what my least favourite world boss is that isn't a night one. It's the worm. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I swear they've adjusted that in a balancing patch or something. Because I remember the first couple of games we played, we never had really any bother with it, but in the last couple of times we've tried it, it's been like instant death if it even touches you with any melee attack. Which makes sense. But I feel like before it felt a bit better balanced for me. I'm assuming they've changed it. They may not have. Maybe I'm just shit. But either way, I just don't remember it being as difficult the first couple of times we played it.
Honestly, it does depend on what they do. Like, sometimes you do have an easier time of it, depending on what moves they do. Like, there are, like, I've fought some of them where they basically just do that constant charge attack while, like, spitting out magma all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't get, like, a minute to think. I've had other games where they basically swing their sword and they've got such range on them that there's, like, you barely get any chance to dodge them.
Yeah.
Other times they just sit still and just like throw a bit of fire about. Like, it does depend.
It's the tail swing that constantly gets me. Ugh.
Yeah.
But that's because, because I use melee, I'm normally trying to target the back because it's, as for any animal, it's typically the weakest point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because you're focused around that area, I end up constantly getting caught by it.
I don't even remember them being that much of an issue in the main game, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I faced them when I played it.
Yeah, like, mind you, you wouldn't have. There's a couple of areas I know that they spawn in. I think there's 2, 3, maybe even 4 in the main game. But you wouldn't have gotten. You would need to get past Limgrave before you even face your first one.
Right.
So you're not there yet. I was going to say, like, even though I didn't find them as difficult in the main game, I do play as a magic class, which for some people, like, using magic in Elden
Cheater! Cheater!
It's basically easy mode. But
I mean, like, I've always lived by the philosophy that if it's something that's in the game, then they intended you to use it, so...
Oh,
if
yeah,
they didn't want you to use it, you wouldn't have put the class in, so...
Exactly. There's a couple of, like... so we've mentioned about the Bell-Bearing Hunter. he's an absolute chode.
I'll be
to
honest.
fight sometimes.
I don't hate that one too much. I don't think
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he's easy, but I don't despise him. For me, it's. Oh, go on.
No, you first. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No. You were going off with your train of thought first. I just got you off. What were you saying?
No, you finish. Honestly.
Okay, if you're sure. If I had to pick my worst, I would have picked the spider after the other night. That one seemed totally broken in that match. I have no idea what happened on that particular round, but it was just insta-killing us at every possible move. I don't know how on earth it was happening. That's probably it, though, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to think of one that really gets on my heels. I know that the Wormhead one caused a bit of grief for... was it you who kept targeting in that match?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Wormface is too bad. To be honest with you, the problem, I say the problem. The main thing with that one is that you got to kind of like keep out of range of him, because if you get too close, it'll build up Deathblight in you.
Yeah.
Which, in my experience with previous games, can be an insta kill. I don't know. I'm assuming that's the same in this one.
Right.
So, and because I main as Iron Eye, so I excel more at range. I'm a lot more squishier.
For sure.
But the things like, kind of like going back to like the Bow Bearing Hunter, is that like, the trick with him, you generally want to be inside his range anyway, because the way he throws his sword is more effective at long range.
Yeah.
So when he targets like someone like me, who plays as Iron Eye, who is at range, it's a lot more dangerous than for someone like a melee class who might be a bit more up close. The spider, I deal with that easier because I am at range, whereas someone who's up close has to either kind of focus on one of the other heads. So I like that there's a pool of enemies that kind of some excel at more than others.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like,
so,
I don't think the spider's generally that bad. It was just in that one particular match.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've never had an instance in the other times that I tried, even on solo, when it was putting me down in one hit, or even close. I don't know if that match was bugged or something. Bugged. Honestly,
well, actually, spiders aren't bugs. They're
oh no, they're arachnids.
Yeah.
But I in all honesty though, like, it was just that one particular match. It felt skewed, and I really don't know what was going on. I don't know if we'd were under-leveled or something. I don't think we were. I'm sure we were on like level 6 or 5 for the end of the night. We did go back one level. I remember that, but it wasn't enough for us to have such a significant difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of an odd one, that one. I do feel like that's a bit of a problem with some of the bosses, like even some of the ones, the general world bosses, because sometimes just insta-kill you. Even if you're like at level 5 or 6 on day 1, which I do think's a bit needlessly harsh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't think anything on day 1 at least should be able to perform like an insta wipe on your whole team. Like the gargoyle one is the one that comes to mind. That one took us. I remember it took all 3 of us down several times before we managed to beat it. I'm sure we had to go back like 4 times before we got through it. Yeah, that one was pretty brutal.
I think those kind of grey enemies, though, are typically like for night 2, almost.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to be honest, I'll be honest, I initially thought like they only spawned in on night 2. I didn't think they even showed up on night 1.
Depends on where you are in the wild, I guess.
I thought like the roster changed overnight.
No, so because we could face a magma worm after the first night. Generally, like, great enemies like stay where they are.
Alright.
Just more appear.
Alright, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
I was gonna ask, like, what's some of the fights that you have enjoyed?
The Gaping Dragon one. Classic.
Yep.
I'm having to look at the list here because I don't remember all of them off the top of my head.
I haven't put them all down, but there's the Gaping Dragon, there's the Ancient Dragon, the Erdtree Knight Entourage, the ones all on horseback. I think there was the Knights Cavalry, the basically Black Rider looking one.
Oh yeah.
The one who kept summoning back his horse. I fought a couple that you haven't, but I won't spoil them here.
Right.
What else? We fought the
What's the
Demi-Human Queen, haven't we? In the
Yes, I think so. Yeah, we have. Yeah, that one was alright. What was the other tree one? Like the big dude.
Oh, the Erdtree Avatar.
Yeah, I don't mind fighting those ones.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably notice that I'm leaning towards the easier ones here. You'll notice a trajectory here.
None of these are easier. Like some of them, like because the Erdtree Avatar can be really, really tough to fight. Like the kind of hammer attack that does.
Yeah, that's...
even at some like level 8 can put me down.
That's a fair point. I suppose it comes more from my playstyle again of being that annoying little gremlin that's hiding behind people and slicing their ankles when they're not looking. So for me, because it's such a big, bulky, slow target, it's perfect for just running up behind and just slashing away at. You know what I mean? I think it's just a playstyle thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd really be interested to see how you kind of tackle like Elden Ring after this, like the main like Elden Ring, and kind of how you fight these bosses in the main game.
I'm looking forward to giving it another go. I mostly ended up resorting to stealth for most of the night, guys. I was just like, oh, why do this when I can just backstab them?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's what it's there for. I really enjoy. I really enjoyed the Fell Omen fights. I know we've spoken about him a bit beforehand, but when he's actually a night boss, I actually really like fighting him. He's a Elden Ring boss. He's actually a main Elden Ring boss, so a little bit spoiler there. But he's even in main game, like he's got such a great moveset, and to see it kind of be extended a bit further in this is really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, he's probably one of my favourites. I mean, I fought a couple of other. We obviously fought the Duke's Dear Freya and the Gaping Dragon. That's a spectacular fight. I fought a Dark Souls 2 boss called the Smelter Demon, which. Where I'm going to give this a bit of a heads up to you now. Be careful getting up close to him because he will deal chip damage, basically, constantly.
Right. Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
So, again, it's that kind of dichotomy of, like, some bosses are easier than others, depending on what you play as.
Yeah, for sure. Which boss was it that was in the tutorial?
That was the Fell Omen.
That is the Fell Omen. Okay.
Wait, were you talking about main game or
this Nightreign tutorial?
Yeah, that's the Fell Omen.
Right.
Which, apparently, I learned that you can actually go back and play the tutorial.
Oh, can you? That's pretty cool.
And if you beat him, you get a particular relic.
Oh, right, nice.
So the more you know.
Awesome. I have to go back and try it at some point.
I
assume you can't do it co-op.
You wish.
Okay. Not happening. What were you saying?
Let's move on to the actual 2 Night Lords that we fought. So we've got Gladius, the Beast of the Night. That's the kind of fire dog that splits into 3. And then we've got Adele, Baron of the Night, which is that grotesque looking like big Maw dragon. So, how have you? I know we haven't beaten Adele yet, but how have you found like both of those fights? What have you liked? What have you disliked?
I find them both relatively enjoyable. I think I prefer Adele to the first one. I wasn't a big fan of the splitting mechanic.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, they're both kind of really bad for this, but they're both enemies that like to run across the map like really quickly, and I'm constantly spending most of my match chasing after them, and that's true for both.
Yeah.
And then I get in close, and like for Adele, for example, when you get to the second phase with the lightning attack, I've already committed to a swing by the time he starts doing that attack, so I always end up taking tons of damage out the gate because I just can't get away fast enough. But that's clearly just me being greedy, I guess. Because the last time, like, the only poison weapon I was able to get my hands on was that big Warhammer thing. So I was like, I've got no, if I've committed to a swing, I've got no chance of getting out of this lightning before it goes off. You know what I mean? So I did find that a bit problematic, but largely I think they're pretty fair. It's just a case of practicing them, I guess, and getting better at dodging. Like with any Dark Souls Elden Ring boss. Yeah, I definitely prefer Adele to the first one, because like I say, the first one I felt like I spent even more time chasing after them when they'd split up.
Yeah.
But with this one I felt like at least it's one target to focus on, not three.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I prefer. So I like I prefer Gladius when he's like together, but once it splits up into a gank fight, that's where it immediately loses points. I do like Adele, but there are times where I'm just like, there is so much going on here that I cannot keep track. And maining Iron Eye, I don't get the because you main Executioner, don't you?
Yeah.
So like, I don't get the kind of I can see some of the more telegraphed attacks from like the lightning or when it does that kind of earthquake attack. Talking about Adele here, that you might not catch until like last second. So I'm already kind of running
for the hills. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think half the time that you're kind of running is because it's coming after like me or another ranged character. Which can be a bit problematic for more melee users.
That's what I'm saying. It kind of just evolves into cross-country across the across this open, like, all this sand and stuff, and I'm like, just slow down, and then it gets even worse when it starts aggroing somebody.
Yeah. I do like the spectacles of the fight. I think it really does feel like you're fighting kind of like a main boss.
For sure.
Both of them have kind of, I know I've mentioned this before in, I think, a zombies kind of retrospective, but I like boss fights that have bosses that are present and have there's two categories. There's presence and
oh god, I can't remember.
I can't remember either. It's something about like interactiveness, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So and these kind of clearly fit the bill for both of them. Like both of them have that kind of like intimidating presence while also doing the fighting themselves and like getting into the nitty gritty. And as I said earlier, there is really kind of like a sense of accomplishment when you finally beat one of them.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of impressive on their part as well for them to win so often when it's one target against three. For an AI that was originally, I assume, designed with the intent for two people max.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive that it's able to deal with all three people several times and still come out on top.
Yeah, for real. I mean, we haven't really faced any of the other bosses, so we don't know kind of like how they compare. But these two have definitely been great, like first hitters.
Aye, for sure. I'm hoping. Oh god.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't feel like either of them have been unfair. Like, yeah, the gank fight for Gladius is annoying. Yeah, the chew attack can be annoying from Adele, but like, not like. I've had matches where I've managed to kind of like play defensively and deal against both of them without much issue. So, like, neither of those two feel very unfair in terms of their moveset.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of it when with the lightning thing, for example, and some of the attacks that he does up close, I'm like, I feel like it happens because I'm not paying attention more than it is because, you know, it wasn't like, you know, choreographed in any way. It's mostly because you just get lost in it and you just start hacking at them. So
Yeah, yeah.
I never feel like it was, you know, the game's fault that I screwed up. You know what I mean? Or very rarely. There was one time where, if you remember, the game where we got really close, where the person that was playing as, what's the bird guy called again?
Guardian.
Got me up, and I immediately got put down by a lightning blast that I had no way of avoiding.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I was like,
yeah. That's
what?
bad luck.
Yeah, so if there is one thing I want to see in a future boss, is I want to see one that doesn't run around as much. I'm hoping there's one that's a bit more slow and a bit bigger. So I'm hoping we'll get something like that.
I say I haven't gotten, like, I haven't beaten, well, I've beaten Adele and Gladius, and I have gotten up to the next one,
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Got this creaky chair. Sorry, go on.
This one seems a little bit more slower paced than the first two, but it does present its own set of challenges. But I'm not going to spoil that here because you've yet to even beat Adele. So yeah. Do you have anything else you want to kind of discuss about the two Night Lords that we fought?
No, I think that pretty much covers it, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's just briefly go over what you think of the relic system and the shop, the in-game shop, I mean.
The in-game shop I've barely used. I think I bought one, what was it, like the goblet thing to get a different slot for my perks, but that was about it.
Yeah.
There is the gestures and stuff you can buy, and also the skins, but like you say, you have to beat 2 Night Lords in order to get access to these skins. So still haven't got to the point to buy them yet. So I don't know if there's anything else that comes in with those. I haven't really bought any relics off of it either. I normally just see what I get from playing the game and get them organically. Again, coming back to the whole being a new player thing, I don't really know what half of them do. They talk about all these abilities and powers and stuff, and I'm just like, what? I don't know what half of this means.
yeah, no, that's fair.
So I'm constantly just kind of skipping over them. They could be really good, but, you know, unless, again, you've played it before, you don't really know. So, I don't know, maybe I'll have to look into it a bit more, but I haven't really engaged with it too much. What about you?
I mean, yeah, the shop it's nice to have, but same as you, I don't really engage with that as much. I bought some things from it. In terms of the actual relic system itself, I do have a bit more of an understanding of some of the things that are on offer anyway.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
My main issue with it is that you get so much chaff that's kind of hard to sort out what's good, what's bad. And I end up selling so much because I just like.
Wait, you can sell them?
Relevant. Yeah. So if you scroll over to the last tab, when you're actually at the relic altar, you can choose to sell some of them.
Oh right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can kind of sort through them even further. I generally sell anything that's like polished and lower. If it's like a grand one, then I might keep it, or rarer. My kind of, because I'm main Iron Eye, I usually pick things that might affect him. So, I run one of the relics that I run is it gives me an extra character skill. So when I kind of do that dodge and I slice the enemy and that red X appears on them.
The bleed.
That skill I've got 2 of now rather than just 1, which means that I've got extra dodging power really, which is what I use it for.
Oh right, fair. I've seen you do it a few times.
Yeah, so it's worth kind of just seeing what, like, mainly if you're kind of picking one, try and see what what goes with your character first, and then
Yeah.
kind of go from there. Like if you see things like attack power up +3, then that's always good. You got like your vigor, which is your health. Mind, I
Yeah.
think, is for your like FP bar.
All right.
So there are like I don't know if there's an in-game encyclopedia that goes over what some of these things are. So but you can generally get by with base knowledge, really.
All right. Fair enough. I'll have to look it up.
But I do kind of think you get given too many relics over the course of a run, which kind of clutters up your inventory.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Like, I've only played it really when I played it with you, and I had like loads of the bloody things. Like literally about like 20 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they definitely get a bit. You definitely get a bit of clutter for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
I was just say, if you had anything to go over, we can move on to the characters real quick if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So we've got our player characters, which are called Nightfarers, each with their own skill sets. So you got Wilder, who is the one that you start out with, I think, in the tutorial.
Yeah.
He basically favors great swords, and his ultimate is a kind of handheld nuke, as people like to say. His skill is able to kind of grapple hook onto things. You've got Iron Eye, who is my main. He zips around. He's a bow and arrow specialist. I call him Legolas. And his skill is to kind of use a dodge attack or a slice attack, which can mark enemies, which exposes weak points. While his ultimate is basically he fires a big fuck off arrow.
I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. Don't we all want to fire a big fuck off arrow? So.
Exactly. Then you have Executioner, which I think his skill is basically you parry, but you can parry quickly with a greater window of opportunity.
It may be. I've never used it.
Yeah. All of these characters, by the way, have passive abilities. The only one I know is my own, which is that I can enemies drop more loot.
All right.
But I don't remember what some of the other. I don't know what some of the other ones are. Executioner's ultimate. Basically, he just turns into this giant werewolf creature, doesn't he?
Yeah. Probably the only ability of his I actually use. Well, to be fair, I have used the sword a bit more recently. I should probably mention, since you've covered both of them, I've only played as Wilder and Executioner. I have yet to try any of the others. But I found a soft spot for... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you first.
I was just going to say, I found a soft spot for Executioner, so I've been maining him recently. But I do want to get around to trying the others at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, the full power, like the ult, if you want to call it that. It's been pretty fun to use, actually. I'd be lying if I said it was the most effective thing ever. But
yeah,
it's enjoyable and entertaining to use, so I thought, why not, you know?
That's the main thing.
These
next two I haven't played as, but I've seen other people play as. So you got Recluse, who is a magic user. I don't know what her skill is. Nor
absolute
do I know.
godsend.
Yeah, I mean, you and I played with Recluses quite a bit, and they are pretty good. Like their magic is really great. Though I don't know what their skill is. I think their ultimate, they basically do like these blood thorns, which if they target an enemy, anyone who hits that enemy gets restored FP and HP. So there's that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, Recluses are really, really fun to play with. Then there's Raider, who, from what I gather, he's just a tanky class. I don't know what his skill is. But his ultimate, he basically raises this big column, which
so
I played with a couple of Raiders.
But I was like, I have no idea what it does. It's just a big square. that's appeared in the
Yeah,
middle of the arena.
for someone like ranged people, it's really great to kind of use because we can climb on top of it and fire down below.
All right.
But other than that, that's all it does. It just raises this big block, which does damage to the enemy, but then that's all it does.
I guess it can be useful to get around the enemy. So if you
Yeah,
if you need to
I
hit
think
it in the
does.
side or something, you can just run around the block and hit it from the other
I
side.
I think it does offer a buff if you're within the vicinity of it, but I don't know.
Right.
I should have done my due diligence and probably gone over these beforehand. Though raiders seem to be really fun to play with as well. Like they do a lot of damage.
Yeah, for sure.
So and raiders use I'm just jumping back to executioner. So executioners favor like curved blades and swords. Which is probably why you might have struggled a bit with like heavier weapons. If you picked any of them up.
Honestly, I had no idea that they even preferred certain weapons, so
yeah, so
there's
the
another
weapons
thing that's new to me.
Yeah, so the weapons that they start out with, this is why you never really see me with any other weapon than the bow. Like, the weapons that they start out with is generally the ones that they favor, and have the
Right.
best moveset with. So, if you're gonna go for a weapon, and as executioner, try and go for like swords and curved blades particularly.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
I mean, obviously take what you can get, but like that's just bear in mind that your character favors those weapons.
Yeah, for sure.
So jumping back to Raider, he uses great weapons, so like colossal weapons like hammers, great axes, etc., etc.
Yep.
Then you've got Guardian, which I've played a little bit of. His main skill is that he can create a gust of wind that knocks enemies around.
All right.
And then his ultimate is that he basically flies up and can slam down. And if you hold that ability, it creates a AoE of protection.
All right, that's pretty cool. I've seen the dive thing in action. That was when I got revived that time and immediately got put back down.
So I mean, like that Guardian should have held down his ultimate because you probably would have survived that.
Well, to be fair, like, how was he to know, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, like, our experience of Guardians when we've been playing with them have been a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, some of them are great, and then there was that one guy that we played with. Like, I mean, we got right to the end of the fight with him. But, like, he would not use his
ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, like, ever. Don't know if it's a pride thing or something like that.
Yeah. Guardians favour great shields and halberds, for those who don't know. And then the last two are probably the most ones that I don't know about. So you got Duchess, which I think is more like an assassin kind of character. And she favours daggers. And then you got Revenant, who basically her main shtick is that she can summon like ghosts in, which is pretty cool. We played with her once and had an okay time with it.
All I saw was a floating sickle. She was that small. And it was just a sickle running after.
Yeah, like that's the means that like Revenants kind of typically wield weapons that are like 3 times their size.
It's a quality meme though, from what you've told me.
Oh yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean we picked our mains. Like I main Iron Eye, you main Executioner typically.
Which I do worry about. If anyone has played this, tell me why we never find anyone picking them in the matchmaking. I want to know. There's got to be a reason. I've never seen another Executioner in matchmaking ever. But then again, outside of you, I've never seen another Iron Eye either.
No, I think Iron Eye is pretty popular, but I
Tell
think
a lie.
the most
I saw one. We saw one.
Yeah.
That was before you picked them.
Yeah.
That was when you were doing Guardian, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. And it was seeing how they played that I was like, maybe I'll give Guardian a go, Iron Eye a go.
Yeah.
I think Wilder is a pretty popular one, but Recluse is also very popular.
I've actually never seen Wilder in public. I picked him for a little bit, but I've never seen him since.
No, I mean I've not played with I've played with one or two, but typically this is online. That says that they're pretty good. So
Yeah,
take
true.
that how you will.
True.
Yeah. Anything else about the characters that you want to kind of cover?
I would go over the story stuff, but I haven't done it, so not particularly.
That's fair.
I think
That's
that
fair.
pretty
I
much
mean,
covers it.
yeah, I covered kind of like how their kind of chapters work. So there's earlier, so there's not really much to go over there.
Aye.
Um, Right, let's go over the critiques. So what we like, what we dislike, and what we want to see added. I'm gonna let you take away here because you kind of got a big shtick to get off your chest.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel like I've already gone over a lot of my critiques generally.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, like if you're new, you don't really get shown the ropes maybe as effectively as you probably could be. Like there's a lot of the game that you find in Elden Ring, but I guess the point could be that in Elden Ring you don't know what all this stuff does out the gate. You have to figure it out as the game goes on. But I feel like in that environment it works a lot better because
Yeah.
it's slower. You can take it at your own pace. It's solo, so you can have time to sit and check your inventory and read stuff. But in this, not so much. You're kind of getting rushed around. But I won't harp on that again. I've already kind of gone over it before. The big shtick that Aiden's talking about is me complaining about the lack of a pause feature on single player. Which, again, I just want to reiterate this before we start going on this topic. I'm talking specifically about any game that's multiplayer that has a pause function. This isn't specifically firing at FromSoft for this one.
Yeah.
I just feel like any multiplayer game, live service or otherwise, should have a pause function in single player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's too much to ask, really, I don't know why
Yeah.
they don't allow you to pause. I just... Because I feel like an hour, potentially, is a lot of time to put aside if you just want a quick game, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to be able to just pause it and be like, right, I can come back to this in an hour or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tried to think of like potential not trying to excuse it because I agree with you. I think solo players should have the opportunity to kind of pause it, but I was trying to think of like reasons as to why
Yeah, for sure.
that I don't know what it could be. There is probably a mechanical reason why they haven't implemented it yet.
If I had to
There's
guess, I'd assume it's the same reason for Call of Duty being so funny about their pausing in zombies recently. Probably because it's on the server side, so they'd have to stop the whole server.
Well, this is it. I mean, even though you're playing with like 3 people, you do see the phantoms of other players running around, and depending on the size of their servers, they're not going to have like a single server dedicated just to 3 people each time, so you can't pause the whole server.
Yeah, for sure.
Thus, if you were going to pause, then you'd have to pause it for probably hundreds of other people. That seems to me is the most logical option as to why they haven't implemented it.
Maybe. I just wonder because I know it's only temporary and you only get 15 minutes, but even zombies allows you to pause briefly.
Yeah,
I think...
I know. That's kind of like I don't understand necessarily why. The only assumption is that maybe it's because you're only pausing for your kind of because you can only pause on private, can't you?
Yes, you cannot pause in public matches.
Yeah, so that might be why. Is that because I don't think you can actually. Well, you can invite other players, but again, you invite them to a server that is then a live server for a lot of other players because of all the phantoms and things. I don't think there's quote unquote proper private lobbies.
That is true, but I do feel like, because there is an offline mode in previous games, that there should be an option to switch it to offline when playing single player.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to throw potential kind of reasons as to why. And there is probably, as I said, there's probably a real mechanical reason why they haven't.
Oh, there will be for sure. I'm not
That
trying
being
to. I'm
said,
not trying to
though,
call them out and call them lazy or anything for not adding it. I'm sure they have a reason.
yeah,
I would just like to see it, so I'm hoping it's something that they'll add down the line if
yeah,
people make
exactly,
enough
and
noise about it. But as
mhm.
far as I'm aware, I'm the only person who has a problem with it, so it
No,
probably
you're
won't
not.
change.
I've seen a few posts on the Reddit that have mentioned about it, and From Software don't. At least I'm not trying to sound like a fanboy here, but like they don't typically like shaft people. Like
Yeah,
they have been known to kind of make quality of life changes, such
I
as
mean, they were bang on like with the solo fix for the amount of runes you'd earn and stuff like that. So
mhm,
that was almost
mhm.
immediate.
Yeah,
So
and like the game's only like a few weeks old now, maybe a month old. No, nearly a month old. So like it's still relatively early days. So
yeah, for sure.
um,
Like
and
I
I
say, I'm
kind of
not.
give them a bit of.
Oh, go on.
I was gonna say I kind of give them a bit of leeway, being this is their first kind of main attempt at something like this.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or anything or make a big stink about it. It's just
Hmm.
something I'd hope that they'll add down the line because, again, this is more a complaint about gaming in general on your own in multiplayer games that they don't
Hmm.
add this option. Like I say, games like World War Z do it, games like Outlast Trials do it, games like
Yeah.
Call of Duty's kind of doing it, but at least we have 15-minute pause intervals. And
Hmm.
I just find it so frustrating that it's become the norm, this sort of thing. So I'm hoping that they'll take the initiative and go out of the way to add it, considering they actually went out of their way to make a solo mode in the first place when they didn't have to.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the ball's in their court, but I'm hoping that they will add it at some point. It would certainly
Yeah.
get me playing it more.
Hmm. I mean, look, there's a couple of other things that they've kind of um, that are industry standards that they kind of missed out in this, such as game chat. So like in-game chat rather than just party chat. So like you
Yeah.
can't chat with the randoms that you or like talk to the randoms that you're playing with. Um,
To be honest, that's kind of becoming a dying art. That
mm,
what's it called? That FBC Firebreak that came out recently also doesn't have voice chat. And I'm like, it's
really?
2025. How does a game not have voice chat in 2025?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen a few of them, like especially like when they're like extractor shooters that just don't include proximity chat, which is
It's
just
like,
madness for a
why?
games like that, like
Yeah.
to not include it. So like yeah,
The thing
like
is,
game
though,
chat is a must.
like, I don't know if it's a case of we're not adding it or it's a case of a plague of the we'll add it later mentality of, we can patch it, so just leave it out and we'll sort it down the line.
True,
Which I
true. I
really,
mean,
I'm really not a fan of that approach either, to be honest.
no, no, me either. Um, Again, I think this is more because FromSoft haven't done something like this, rather than they just didn't. They left it out on purpose. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
it was a bit of an oversight. Um,
No, trust me,
One thing
I'm
that.
giving them an enormous amount of slack here. Believe
Oh
me.
yeah, I mean, as I said, I know I'm experienced, but I'm really not trying to be a fanboy here. Like, I do give From Software a lot of leeway because they're one of the few AAA developers that I actually trust nowadays.
Oh yeah, rightly so. Like I've only been
Um,
playing Dark Souls and Elden Ring not Elden Ring with you, but I played a bit of it myself. But they're definitely
mhm,
really solidly made games. You can tell that they're a studio that actually care about what they're putting out,
yeah, for
which is
real.
more than what can be said for a few other studios these days.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, One thing I do think was a real missed opportunity though was crossplay.
Oh yes, yes. It's funny
I was
actually
thinking about this
because
earlier.
you see when we finished that first stream and Liam
Hmm.
was watching,
Yep.
he actually said that he'd play it with us if he could,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, it's. I don't know
Hmm.
why we don't have crossplay. It's just bizarre.
There's there's absolutely no reason in my mind for games not to include crossplay now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I just don't, especially when it's a game that like, I understand if it's a game that's not like that's a console exclusive. Like you, I mean, obviously you wouldn't include crossplay for a console exclusive, but for like
Unless you're
games
Gears
that
of War.
are, well, yeah, exactly. But games that are like on multiple platforms, this day and age, there is absolutely no reason not to include crossplay.
Yeah.
It maddens me that like games don't do that.
Yeah, same here. Like, the first time I think I've seen it recently was Dead Island 2. And I was just like, oh, that's a bit weird. You know, I wonder why
Yeah.
they've chosen to do that. But it's starting to become more prevalent with more new releases that crossplay is just not being added. And it's honestly baffling why they're not bothering.
I mean,
It's
ultimately, it just hurts the players rather than the studios.
Exactly. Like, for a couple of years, I thought, you know, oh, that's it. Every game from now is going to be cross-platform. And it seems like we were going in that direction, and now it's kind of... people are slowing down with it. I don't know if, like, playing cross-platform is just getting unpopular. I know PC gets a lot of slack in cross-platform games, because, you know, hacks, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there should at least be a console option.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, some games that I have played in the past have included console-only crossplay. Which,
Yeah, exactly.
It just blows my mind that that's not industry standard.
It's a rant for another day, but I do hate that the PC community gets excluded because of people like hackers. That drives me up the wall. As someone who
I know.
kind of on PC, but not really. Steam Deck mostly these days. But it sucks to be left out of games like this because, like, you know, no one wants to play with you because every PC gamer is a quote-unquote cheater. So, you know, no one wants to play anything with you.
Few bad apples have ruined the batch, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah. That and the mouse and keyboard debate. I feel like as long as you're playing on PC with a controller, it should be fine.
Yeah.
That's a compromise I'd be willing to make anyway. To play it with.
Yeah, it's so...
Go on.
No. I was just agreeing with you, like, it's so tricky.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
sorry, I feel like I've dragged this way off topic here.
No. I was just saying, like, in terms of like console crossplay, there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason, and I will not hear anything about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Saying otherwise. Something that we do know is coming, and will hopefully be added soon, is duos. I know you've mentioned that you probably like would be hard pressed to go back to playing duos, especially considering how fun trios are. But duos would be a nice option too.
It might be good practice, honestly, because as shameful as it is to admit, I feel like playing trios is I'm able to hide behind the efforts of other players a bit more. And I'll be totally honest about that. I do tend to take advantage of other people being bait to get in the damage. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like if we played duos, I'd be forced to stand on my own 2 feet, and I don't know how I'd manage. I'd have to actually... Oh, go on.
I can say you managed in regular Dark Souls.
True, but I feel like... I don't know, I feel like in this one in particular, I've been able to dodge a lot of the responsibility you'd normally have in a boss fight, because so much other stuff is going on that you can just kind of wail on them a bit and not really have to take... Like I say, like sometimes a hit will come in and I'll just tank it because I'm like, it's whatever. Somebody else will get followed in 2 minutes, so I'll have a chance to get back on my feet. Because when I played solo, it was a real eye opener.
Solo's no joke.
Yeah, I was getting flattened by like even fodder enemies, and I was like, oh god. I did like the rune acquisition rate though. I thought that was really quite fun. And it was nice to hit bosses and watch the health bars actually go down quite a significant amount on each hit, which isn't a thing we get to enjoy on trios.
Yeah, I mean, like, solo is by and large easier than playing with trios. That's always been the case. And I do know that if they, as and when they do add duos, that they will balance it for such. So
I hope so.
Yeah. And hopefully if they do kind of balance it that way, that like they'll be able to make it so that if people do leave, they'll kind of readjust the balancing.
Yes, I was literally just about to mention this because I remember when that player left on our game and it didn't feel like the game would be balanced at all. We just had to deal with trios level difficulty, but there was only 2 of us. I could be wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there is a balancing measure in there, but it certainly didn't feel like it. Felt like we were just playing trios, but with only two of
No,
us.
I don't think it does balance, to be honest, or balance out anyway.
Aye. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that's something they'll adjust as well when they add duos and they'll scale it dynamically.
Yeah. Couple of things that I put that I would like to see added. Some new skins for characters. As we go on.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah,
would be
for
really
sure.
cool, especially if they're like legacy skins again.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I know we've had the limited time event boss just coming out or come out. But I'd like to see some new, like just new general Night Lords and bosses in game anyway.
Yeah. When are those DLC ones coming out?
I don't know.
Right. Okay. Thought we might have a window on that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just didn't know if they'd announced a window for it yet or not.
No. It's that's typical from Soft. They'll just say like something's gonna come, but it'll come when it
Eventually.
comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, given they know how to cook.
Yeah, for sure. Now I'm looking forward to it. But I don't know if we'll even have all of these ones done by then, to be honest.
That's fair.
But we shall see. We shall see.
We shall see indeed. Do you have anything else you'd like to see added? Or any further critiques?
Not particularly. I think we've gone over most of it already.
Okay, cool. I was going to talk about like what you think of the difficulty, but I think we in the other section, but I think we kind of covered that quite significantly over the course of the
True.
Yeah.
If there was any slight change I'd like to see to it, it's that maybe have a bit more make it a bit more consistent. Like I say, there are some enemies that you'll fight one, it'll feel like average difficulty, and then the next one will instantly kill you. I wish there was a tiny bit more consistency there, but beyond that, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's certainly not a huge complaint. It's just one of those like, oh, that's a bit annoying because you go up to hit an enemy and then it hits you and that's it. You're down immediately. Like if I had to name like one of them, the gargoyle. That one was
the
particularly
gargoyle
egregious.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's egregious in main game anyway, so... yeah.
Yeah. I just wish... well, if they don't rebalance it, I just wish there was an easier way, again, for someone who hasn't played Elden Ring to know, oh, this one's a big problem. Maybe don't deal with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe
tint...
Oh, go on.
I was going to say, there's kind of like on the health bar, like a level that says what this enemy is.
Yeah, like maybe on the map have like the aura around a location or something, like a different colour or something, if it's a particularly egregious one.
Yeah, for real.
Just to make it a bit easier for, like I say, noobs like me, who don't know Elden Ring very well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Alright.
Well, if you don't have anything else or anything else that you want to cover, I'll go into our closing words.
Aye, yeah, go for it.
So, I hope that you all enjoyed that. Next episode of Undead Ramblings, we're going to return back to Black Ops 1, I think, and cover the map Ascension, the first DLC for Black Ops 1. And then the episode after that, depending on what's going on in the gaming scene, we'll probably cover Call of the Dead. So keep an eye out for that. Stay tuned.
Oh, we may even be doing the second part of Dark Souls, I guess, depending if we beat that in time.
Yeah, for real. So we'll keep you up to date as to what we're going to be doing after that. But I think next episode we'll definitely be doing Ascension, won't we? For
sure. I think we're probably going to be playing a bit more of Elden Ring before we go back to Dark Souls. So.
Yeah, for real.
We'll see, though. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, folks, please do the YouTube pleasantries, like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to do a shameless plug here on my Instagram. So I've recently hit 500 followers. If you like miniature painting and Warhammer stuff, come follow me on Instagram. My handle is MrHughes95. Again, I think that might be in the description below. So, yeah. Other than that, I'll hand over to Josh for the closing comments.
All right, yeah. So usual stuff again. If you want to chat to people who like zombies and other games like Elden Ring, that sort of thing, you could join our Discord, and we talk about all sorts of stuff on there, or at least we used to. I'm not going to make any promises that I'll get it up and going because I say that every single week now at this point. So I'm not going to fill you with fake promises.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with it. Like I say, we're still debating whether to reboot it or not, or maybe make an Undead Rambling specific one for this. But we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Yeah.
So another reminder again, if you have an Xbox and on Black Ops 1, we're also still looking for help for Ascension, as Aiden said before, and maybe future Easter eggs like Shangri-La and Call of the Dead, potentially. I don't know if we need another player for that one, but if we find a team of people who are willing to do the rest, I wouldn't mind re-recording it with 4 people.
Yeah, sure.
If that's something you'd want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so beyond that, we're also going to be streaming a bit more regularly this time. As I said at the beginning, Aiden's going to be doing streaming on his own on Tuesday. So if you want to check that out, you can find the link for his Twitch in the description below. If I'll be joining any of them, I'll post about it on the community tab as well. So if you want to be informed on that. Well, I'm also debating uploading our VODs when we actually get around to doing those. But I don't know how to go about that just yet. We'll see. We'll figure it out as we go. And
A little exploration.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We'd also like to know what your thoughts are on Elden Ring Nightreign if you've played it, and what you think of it. Whether you like it or not, or whether you think it was worth £40, or I don't know what it is in dollars.
$40, £35.
Right, £35, $40. Right, okay. Not good with these conversion rates.
Money's just a concept.
Aye, pretty much. Soon we'll all be using cryptocurrencies and NFTs.
Oh, get out.
I'm joking. But, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So I guess we'll see you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.